Randy Kerdoon from Talking About Cars. I'm here at the Los Angeles Convention Center with Wayne Carini of Chasing Classic Cars.
Great to be here with so many great classics.
Isn't it true, Wayne? You know, the first time you did our show, we were given 2 prestigious awards.
That's great. Did you bring the trophy?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did. Here it is. Cool, huh?
Wait a minute. This sort of looks like your wife's softball trophy to me.
Okay, I might have borrowed it a little bit.
Randy, seriously?
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Talking About Cars Goes on the Road. Today we are reporting from Washington State for the Good Guys Northwest competition there. And as you could tell, some fans of something going to be on camera right behind us. Hey, I'm Randy Kerdoon. Hot Rod Bob is on assignment. And of course, here we are, where else, knee deep in it. You want to take a look at some of the cars out here? This is kind of like Volkswagen Alley right here. There's a whole bunch of cars. You know, there are thousands of cars, maybe 1,000 to 2,000 cars here. You have undoubtedly never seen this car that I came across here at the Northwest Good Guys Hot Rod Custom Association show in Washington. Look at this, and I'm guessing you've never seen it before. So tell me a little bit about the car. How long have you had it? What's its history that you know of?
Well, believe it or not, I found the car in a wrecking yard in the middle of California about 17 years ago. I wasn't looking for it, and I found a Ford Tempo sitting on the roof of it, of all things. Anyway, so me and my buddy were on a road trip to watch the Reno air races as spectators. It was fantastic, and I couldn't stop thinking about the car. So lo and behold, a week later, I'm making the purchase of the car for a whopping $500 17 years ago, and here I am. I just got it running about 1.5 years, 2 years ago now. I wanted to get it running and driving down the road as soon as possible because that's the fun of a car, bebopping on down the road. In fact, we drove that thing here. We're from Vancouver, Washington, which isn't that far, but it's long enough for a car that has no insulation, no weather stripping, and no driver's side window. So, it's a hoot.
I mean, you probably weren't looking for this particular car at the time. Tell me a little bit about why this car is the one that you decided to get.
Well, probably the 2 things that stuck in my head why I had to have this car. It was a 2-door, it was a station wagon. Maybe a third reason is it has a third pedal. So it had a factory 3 on the tree, but it was missing the cylinder head, so I had to do a motor swap and transmission swap on it to get it running. In fact, an interesting side story is before I bought the car, I had called a friend of mine who does a lot of Bajan of 2300 Ford Rangers, and I'm like, hey, you got a motor for one of these? He's like, speak of the devil, I got an engine and transmission and a computer for $350. So lo and behold, I owned the motor technically before I owned the car. So it was pretty neat.
So with computer and all, that actually works in this car, because what is it now officially?
It's a 1959 Taunus, and the model is a 17M. And they have a little more generic statement of them called a P2, and that means it's the second body style of the Taunus car. So it's a 59. It's styled after a 55 or 56 Ford station wagon. Well, they didn't sell too well in America because no one wants to go buy a 56 styled car in 1959. They want something 65 and 75. The jet age is coming. So they didn't sell it anymore after the 1960 model year. And it's pretty well known worldwide, but not here in America.
So you're right in what you say, who wants a 55, 56 Ford, but then not only that, this is smaller than the one you could get in America.
It is. Well, you got to think about the European markets, and all those cities were built in the 1800s, or whenever Rome died, I guess, is when they built car roads, huh? And it's small, so it can fit in and out of all those places. In fact, the other places that car is actually manufactured in is you got Germany, obviously, which is going to supply the European market. It's built in South Africa, of all places, and magically in Argentina. I wonder why there would be a market for German cars in Argentina after World War II. Conspiracy theory, Amber? Sorry.
I don't know. We suddenly got political. I don't know how that happened.
So I actually nicknamed this car the zombie car because no matter where we go, as soon as we park, everybody's always like, what is it?
What's been the best part about trying to get the thing running?
Probably the best part about it is all the head scratching, all the little creative little doohickeys I had to do with that thing. And, in fact, it's funny, my little buddy in life, she did a lot of learning of welding, of how to weld on that thing. So the 1,000,001 tack welds that were put on that car weren't really put on by me. They were put on by her. I was the grinder. So anyway, it's been a lot of little work. You learn what fits and what doesn't and have to go back to the drawing board quite often. But it's close enough now to where I'm going to be doing just improvements on it instead of building the car from scratch again.
So my grandma bought this new in Kansas in 1960 and drove it out to Southern California immediately thereafter. So she was in Southern California in the fall of 1960. It remained in her possession. We rode in it as kids. In fact, the original carpet's still in here, and you can see where we had 4 kids in our family. Then when we went with Grandma, we'd put our feet on the hump there, and so it's all worn out on the transmission tunnel hump. So my grandma had it. She got in a wreck in 1974. And at that time, she was 74 years old because she was born in 1900. And so she decided to repaint the car. And so at that time, because it was in a front-end wreck, she repainted it in a tan color. And so then it was passed down to my folks. My dad drove it as his daily driver. And in late 1976, we moved up to Washington, over to Spokane. And so it remained his. And then my sister got the car after that. And she was 2 years older than me, and then I got it. So it became my driver. So I left in the very early 80s to go in the Marine Corps, and when I was gone, right before I left, I'd actually taken the battery out of it and given it to a friend of mine with a 58 Chevy because he needed a battery. And so my parents went out to start it at some point, and it didn't start. They didn't know anything about cars, and so they assumed that it wasn't running. They pushed it out of the carport into the backyard. They were having a garage sale in 1984, and somebody came to the garage sale and said, "Hey, you selling that old car?" And they said, "Sure," and they sold it for $75. So the guy thought it didn't run, so he immediately pulled out the engine and did a short block on it, lost interest or something, threw it in the trunk, and pushed the car out in the field out at 9 Mile in Spokane, and it remained there for many years. And he finally listed it for sale in 2000, and then my friend Mike, who's over there, saw it in the paper, and he called me up and said, "Hey, there's a Phoenix in the paper. You want me to go look at it?" So I said, "Yeah, sure." So he goes out there, looks at it, sees the high school parking sticker, which you can see reflected in the package tray there. And so he knew then, of course, because we'd ridden around in it in high school. And so he knew it was mine. He didn't say anything to the guy, and he's heading home. And all of a sudden, this other 60 Dodge passes him out on this 2-lane road. And he's like, "Oh boy, that guy's going out to buy the car. I better go back." And so he flips around, passes that guy on this road, screeches to a halt at this guy's farm, and he hops out and says, "Hey, I know my buddy's going to want this car. Can I give you? I only have like $30 on me." And this is before cell phones and all that, right? So I only have like $30 on me. So will you hold it because it's his original car? He's going to want it. The guy goes, "Oh, sure." And then Mike proceeds to tell him the story about this other 60 Dodge, and he goes, "Oh yeah, that's my friend Merle. He lives across the street." So I ended up having to pay full price for the car, which was fine. And so then I got it home and decided that I was at some point going to paint it back to its original color, but it had sitting out in the field. The repaint my grandma did in '74 had kind of failed. And so I painted it this color. Actually, Chris painted it, who's sitting over there. Painted it this color as a temporary paint job. It's 71 Mustang Grabber Lime with a flattener in it. And we did that in 2004. And here we are 20 years later, and the temporary paint job is still on it. So at the time that after I got it back, we decided I had the original 318 poly that came in it, but I thought it was kind of gutless, and so we dropped a 440 in it. So there's a 440 4-barrel and
it's not gutless anymore.
It is not gutless anymore. We lowered the car, and then I got working on this Cougar over here, and we were doing all this because that was getting done, and so I wanted something to drive. And so we got this all running and painted and everything, and then stopped because now it was time to assemble this one and get this one finished. And so this ran and drive, and so I drove it for a while. And then I had too many cars, and it's starting to get overwhelming to do.
You'll never hear me say again, by the way. I'm glad you have this on tape. I have too many cars.
There's only so many that you can drive at a given time. It's hard to keep up on oil changes and all that kind of stuff, right? And so,
Well, what are the odds, though, that a car like this, that's been in the family basically all your life or close to it, is still in the family, and the weird circuitous way that it got here?
yeah, I mean that is unusual. It's a good story. It's nice that we found it. I mean, it was just luck of the draw. If Mike hadn't been looking in the one ads that day, we never would have found it. Somebody else would have bought it, and we never would have found it. So it was great. It actually had all of the old registration slips in it from my grandma still, the owner's manual that she had written in, what a Red Ram 318 is, and how frequently she should have the oil changed and all that stuff. So we have all that documentation. We found all kinds of things in the car from when we were kids.
Okay, so what is one of the weirdest things that was in there, or funniest things that were in there that you laugh every time you think about it?
We did find
We did under the seat.
So, at one time I had hair. And so this was, back in the 70s, and so it was one of those with a, with a big handle and stuff that we carried around in our back pockets in the 70s. So we did find a comb in there, which was
Pencils, papers, things like that.
Yeah, some other weird stuff I can't remember now. We have it all still in a bag. I just haven't looked in that bag for a long time.
Okay, so Noelle, basically you now have been, you now own the car. Number one, did you have to pay him for it, or did you just get it?
We did make a financial arrangement, yes. So I did pay for it, and it was a kind of a family decision here, and it was, hey, I need some space, and I said, well, that's interesting because I had recently sold my 64 Valiant wagon, and we also needed something to drive, so it worked out pretty well. So my husband and I bought this from my parents last summer. We've had it for the last year. And we just finished some mechanical work on it. We've been driving around, but my kids love bombing around in this thing. They hang out in the back seat too, and I drove them to summer camp this morning, and they wanted to make sure we got there at a certain time so the whole camp would see them show up.
How indebted are you to your dad for allowing you to buy this car?
I love it. It's a great memory. I grew up doing cars, doing this, spending my weekends in garages and parking lots all over the West Coast. And so to me, this is something that I love passing on to my children. It's great. It's a family affair, and we're having a really good time. So
I asked, though, because you just happen to have Dad on your, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, well, and the sunflowers for my mom. She would be remiss if I did not mention it. But, this tattoo is the I-90 pass. We spent a lot of time going back and forth in between, and we took I-90 pass to go over to pick this up, and we've driven this over to Coeur d'Alene several times, and a lot of memories, a lot of fun. I have pictures of him splayed out as a young man on the hood, and it's fun to remember. So we're excited to keep it going. We have some plans to really focus on this and repaint back to the original with some slightly modern modifications, and finish the interior and just kind of finish the project.
Okay, so the official word of the day is splayed. Please look up splayed. I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah.
You should know how to get your way around an encyclopedia or a dictionary or whatever.
Yeah.
Splayed.
Yes, those 4-foot legs just over the front of the hood. Yeah, no, but we're having a wonderful time. So, yeah, family affair for sure.
Very cool. What's the best thing about this car?
You don't see any of them. A lot of actually this forward look era are over in Europe, in Sweden, Norway, Denmark. They love this big fin, boat, and I happen to love it as well. And it's lonely up here at the top, holding it down, being the only one, but somebody's got to do it.
My wife's uncle, who worked with the police department here and a little bit in North Carolina, went out and bought it from the trooper that used to drive it when it was in service in North Carolina. And then he brought it out here and started restoring it, and he's done many car shows with it and everything. And then after he passed away, the car came to us, and we continued restoring it and bring it out to show it in his name, and and bring a little light and smile to everybody's face when they see a North Carolina State Patrol car in Washington.
Do you get a lot of stories from people talking about how they got pulled over in North Carolina or something, or just in general?
I get a lot of stories from people that were pulled over here in Washington. There is a couple of these Fox bodies running around here that are Washington State Patrol cars. You'll see them at the car shows every once in a while.
Why decide to redo it? Why keep it, and is it a family thing? Is it you have a law enforcement background? Why go ahead and do that?
Well, the reason to keep it original is I'm kind of a purist when it comes to cars. I don't like to see guys chop them up and try to make something they're not. Keep it original. It makes people more interested in it because they have stories themselves from when these vehicles were original. And that's what they want to see. They want to see the pure car. And for us, it is a family thing. We will keep this in the family. It's already set to go to my nephew when I'm done driving it, and hopefully he'll kick it and he'll pass it on to one of the other children.
How difficult is it to get, I would imagine North Carolina might have something to say about what you do with it, or was it just sold outright by the officer who used to drive it to your former father-in-law?
It was sold outright. They stopped using these things in about '95 in North Carolina, and then they sold them off to, auctions and the officers. And once they bought them off, it was up to them to do whatever they wanted.
Do you trailer this or do you drive it?
No, I drive it all the time. No trailer.
What's the reaction on the road when you're driving something like this?
It's real nice on the road when you're driving and you see somebody speeding up behind you, and then they get within eyesight of you, and then they slow down real fast.
Did you ever want one of these? I mean, have you ever considered, where did you grow up? Around Washington or where?
I grew up in North Carolina.
You did?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina, right outside Fort Bragg. I grew up there, and I tell you what, I was a Camaro guy for the longest time. Had a Camaro right prior to this, and then when I got this one, I fell in love with these little Fox bodies. They're good little cars.
You've never been a law enforcement officer, but you did grow up with these cars in North Carolina.
Correct. Never a law enforcement officer. Spent 26 years in the Army, but never as a cop.
That's got. I'll tell you one thing's for sure here at Good Guys. I'm going to take a wild wager that you will not find another North Carolina police car here at this show.
I'll take that bet.
Bought it 6 years ago in Sacramento. It was on Craigslist. I actually chased it for 3 years before I got the guy to sell it to me. He was trying to get more out of it than it was worth, so we finally compromised. I've had this weakness for 57 Dodges since I was in high school in the 60s, and had a 57 Dodge convertible before this that I restored, but I'm not really a restorer. I like something with more performance, so I got a chance to get this and did it.
Was it in this shape when you got it?
Oh, Lord, no. No, it was pretty sad. There's pictures on the side of it that show what it looked like. The interior was in rags, and the body had a lot of rust out. The floors were gone, but I replaced the floors and did the rear suspension, the front suspension, and all that, and then I hired somebody to do the body work and paint on it.
I was going to say, this is, when it comes down to the colors and all that, you seem to nail it. Was this something you had in mind, or did you have to get talked into it, or did the wife come up with it, or what?
It's pretty funny. We went out for a drive on a Sunday. We drove through a new car dealership lot in Olympia, and we looked at car colors, and all of a sudden went, that's it. And then that was the burgundy, and then about 6 or 7 cars down was one in the charcoal, and we said, and that's the other color. They're current Ford colors, called burgundy velvet, and I'm not sure what the charcoal is. But
did you ever consider doing an original color on it, or just because you knew you were going to do a bunch of work on it, you said, let's go for broke?
We actually started off to do it in yellow and white, and we had pictures made in yellow and white and just did not like it. We had another car earlier that was yellow and white, and it was a Chevy, and it worked on that, but it just didn't work on this.
What was it about the 57 Dodge that really kind of grabbed your attention? Why that?
When I was in high school in 1966, I got a 57 Dodge convertible with a Hemi and 2 4-barrels out of a junkyard. I traded a motorcycle for it, and I wasn't wrecked. Got it home. It had a flat cam. My brother and I changed that, and I just ran the wheels off that thing until I graduated. and was going to be real practical and go off to college, so I traded it in for a Volkswagen. Got $100 out of it.
I'm sorry.
Well, then, years later, I found out how extraordinarily rare that car was. It was a D500 Hemi convertible. And so I spent the next 40 years trying to find another one, and did. And I bought that car in Santa Maria, California, and trailered it home, restored it because it was way too rare to hot rod. But I'm more of a hot rodder, and I just didn't feel I could drive the restored car like I wanted to. So I sold it and found this in Sacramento and started building it.
When you drive a car that you at one time had, and I know I've done it from personal experiences, you're suddenly sometimes transported. If you're driving, you're suddenly transported to those days when you were driving the other car. Do you ever run into that situation with this?
Well, not with this, but let me tell you a quick story. When I was in high school, my first car was a Model A Roadster hot rod, a channeled piece of junk actually, but fun car.
What was your piece of junk?
My piece of junk.
Yeah.
Well, I had it for 22 years, I think. I sold it to a guy down in Hoquiam. He still has it, loves it, would never sell it. But I was going through Aberdeen one day and saw him, and he, waved me down and said, "You want to go for a drive?" Well, this was like maybe 5 years ago. My high school car. He flips me the keys. My wife and I got in it. Came back about an hour later with the biggest smiles you ever saw. Because, yeah, I got to relive my high school days there for an hour, and it was pretty fun.
So this is 1974 Volkswagen thing. I bought it in 2018. It was in a barn, bunch of buddies. There's 5 brothers in BC that are all into these things. I was able to drag it out of the barn. And it was all stock, camo green when I bought it. Back in the early 80s, it had engine fire, which put her down, and it's been sitting ever since until I got my hands on it, and she is the way she is now.
So what was your goal when you decided to rescue this thing? Did you think on making a stocker out of it? Did you, or did this kind of was in your mind all the time the way this turned out?
So I've always been into the old V-dubs. I've had buses and bugs, and I wanted to customize something that wasn't as normally seen, because everyone's seen the buses and bugs customized. So let's go do a thing. It turned out honestly better than I was expecting it to come out to be, so I'm more than happy with it. So yeah.
So where did the idea to do something like this come from? Is it just out of your head? Did you see somebody else do something similar, or did you see it on a TV show? Where'd that come about?
Just events like these, you go to enough car shows, meet enough people, see inspiration at other people's designs, and you just go with it.
You have put together a car that kind of looks like you were just using spare parts off of just about anything you could find.
Yeah, exactly, right? I tried to show that you could build quite a cool car without needing a big price budget, so I tried to keep it with things I had and just build something unique on a low price.
For example, the floorboards on it are basically old street signs and that kind of stuff?
Exactly. Still has a stock floor. It's solid. It's just ugly because I was going with the rat design. I had a bunch of license plates, signs around, so I thought they would be a good touch to throw onto the floor.
How long have you had this car, and what's the story behind it?
Approximately 12 to 14 hours. I just came in yesterday and was meeting with some of my friends and registering, and I pulled up and saw this car and fell in love with it, and it was for sale, and so I went over to talk to my buddy, and easy as that.
I've known about the car for a long time. My friend's dad owned it for probably 10 years or maybe longer. He sold it, and the fellow named Rob Hightower bought it, and he put the air ride, fixed it, or put air conditioning on it, did a whole bunch of upgrades to it. And then I ended up buying the car, and I changed the wheels, put drop spindles on it and zero offset front disc brakes, and it had a dual 4 setup on it. I took that off there, make it more drivable, is the way I felt about it. But it's a good car. I haven't owned it long, maybe a year, something like that.
Okay, so when you bought it, did you intend to flip it? Did you want to keep it? What was the deal?
Well, it was for sale for a while, but they didn't have the air ride set where it would sit as low as it does, so I did that, and it had different wheels on it that really weren't what a lot of people like. So I tried something different, and I think a lot of people like it. They're 17
a big
inch
draw to the car. Everybody's the color and the stance of the car. That like, well, I don't know if it's like a silver, dark silver.
Yeah, it's just a rattle can paint job.
But
My friend
that's
did.
the big draw to the car. Everybody's that draws the attention.
You know, wanted something different.
So when you got it, what, with it being a Canso or an Acadian, if you will, why was that a draw for you as opposed to people who might think, oh gosh, this is just another Chevy too?
Yeah, good question. So I didn't really have an idea, and I don't know what the audience is per se. So I took some risk, and because it's an Acadian, with people aren't looking for that car; they're looking for a Chevy too. And then they see this thing and they're going, "What's that?" And I'm sure you saw the license plate on it. So that gets people too, asking questions, and a lot of it. I think there's 3 of them out here, including that one. A lot of it's just they're so different, the grill and the taillights and things like that.
59 Chevy Impala. We have a 60 Buick Electra Deuce and a quarter, and then we have a 65 Buick Riviera. I'm a big Buick guy, so I'm from Flint, Michigan originally. My grandfather worked at Chevy, and my uncle worked at Buick. And so I've always had this attrition to, the Chevys and the Buicks and the old stuff. It reminds me of my upbringing. But also, my grandfather and my uncle worked at Buick and Chevy in 59, 60, 65. And so my thought process in my head is that they actually put a hand on it, because all 3 of these were actually made in Flint. And so there's a Fisher made in Flint tag on the door of each actual one. And so it's sentimental. It's sentimental for me. My favorite is, of course, the 60 Deuce and a quarter. That was actually my first one. My best friend, John, has a 60 hardtop Electra Deuce and a quarter. And I was loving it. But I'm like, you know what? This would be so awesome in a convertible.
Deuce and a quarter, is that Buick lingo for 225?
Yes. Well, I don't know if it's Buick lingo, but it was the hood lingo. Okay. So back where I come from, anybody that had some money had a deuce and a quarter, right? And so that's what they would call it, deuce and a quarter. And so I got that about 5 years ago. I've had the Impala for about 2 years. Of course, this one's been on a rack at my mechanics for like a year, but we're getting close. They got it ready for me so that I can at least come to the show. Last year it looked like I was doing four-wheeling because it's set up so high. I like stuff on the bag. I like it laying down when it's not moving. So we haven't done the Riviera yet. That's the next project that will come soon, but we did do the interior update on that one. Took it from the black vinyl to a brown leather. I thought I would go with the blue really well.
That's rather new, though. When did you get the Riviera?
This one was like 7 months. Oh, wow. Yeah, 7 months on this one. We've just been so busy working on this one, we haven't got a chance to get to this one yet. But we did tune it up, updated some stuff, distributor points, spark plugs, wiring, battery cables, that kind of stuff, make it run better. But, I'm an old school guy that just likes old school cars.
What's next?
Oh my goodness, my wife just asked me that the other day. She said, "Are you
smart
done?
Lady, smart lady.
Are you done?" I'm like,
really?
Like, honey, we're never really done. I don't know if you noticed the shirt, obsessive car disorder. That's my problem, OCD.
That'll do it for this week's edition of the Talking About Cars podcast. Thanks for joining us here from the Pacific Northwest Good Guys Show in Puyallup, Washington. We've had a chance to see some really interesting cars and get some really cool car stories. We'll see you next time on the Talking About Cars podcast. So long, everybody.